My name is John Mutu. I was the national team leader for ECP, as is Engaged Citizens Pillar, a governance program funded by FCDO in Nigeria, managed by Palladium. The mandate of the program was to facilitate citizens' engagement with government, building the capacity of citizens, enhancing their voices, and also building bridges between governments and citizens. In a nutshell, our mandate was to support processes that enhances inclusive governance, enhances citizens' participation in the governance process, and also ensuring that they place demand before government in a constructive manner, and also supporting government to respond positively to the needs and priorities of citizens. And at the end of the day, the key expected outcome is the extent to which government is able to respond to the priorities of citizens, the extent to which government is able to prioritize the issues that resonate with citizens. But within that, it starts with the process of working with the partners to identify the issues that really matters to them the most. As a program, we didn't have any predetermined issue. We didn't have any preconceived deliverable, but more or less working with citizens through the issue-based approach to identify the issues that matters to them and helping them to deliver on their aspirations. And because they saw that we didn't have any predetermined agenda, we didn't come with any foreign agenda, but more or less helping them to achieve their own objectives, facilitating and helping them with technical capacity. That helped to build trust. They saw the value that the program was bringing. They saw that the program was not trying to use them to achieve any preconceived objective. Rather, the program was bringing the value the program was bringing to the table was helping them to engage more effectively with government at the end of the day to achieve their own objective. That created trust. That also opened doors. But also importantly, those who were talking with them, most of the staff, or almost all the staff of the program, were Nigerians who understood the context, who they know very well over time, and who they also know that will help them achieve the desired results. That made it easy for them to work with us. That made it easy for both sides, both the demand and the supply side, to listen to us, seeing us as very credible arbiters, seeing us as unbiased umpires, seeing us with people who can convene meetings and broker effective partnership. What are the results we have achieved over time? As a program, we're not shy from engaging on very transformative issues. We're not shy of engaging on difficult issues. But our objective was to ensure that we strengthen governance in Nigeria. So whatever the issues there, whatever the reform that were required, no matter how difficult they were, knowing that the end goal matters so much, we were ready to engage in that. One of them was amending the constitution to address structural governance challenges. For instance, accountability in governance requires key accountability institutions like the state legislature, performing their roles effectively to hold government to account. Unfortunately, we noticed that the state legislatures were not able to perform that role, and the contextual analysis, the PEA, indicated that they are not able to perform that role because their funding was tied to the executive. And the executive, the governors, were using that funding as a tool to weaken and compromise the legislature. So what we did after engaging with the partners was to mobilize the partners, let them see the need to push for the reform, mobilizing multi-stakeholders at the federal and the state level to advocate for the amendment of the constitution. In over a 10-year period, we've succeeded in amending the constitution in 2017, granting financial autonomy to the legislature, which was a key game changer. And now that funding, legislators can access their fund directly, the influence of the governors to a large extent was reduced in some of those states, and we have seen examples of where financial autonomy is working. The legislators are able to perform their oversight function more effectively, even though we're not where we expect them to be, but at least there is considerable progress. Another key transformation change is amending the constitution to grant local governments their financial and administrative autonomy. Nigeria practices a federal system with 3 tiers: federal, state, and local government. Unfortunately, the framers of the constitution designed in such a way that ties the funding of the local government to the state government. And the governors coming from a military background have used the instrumentality of that law to somehow control the funds meant for local government. So where you have elected local government officials depending on the state government for resources to perform their functions. And in a lot of states, the state government have also used that as an influence peddling mechanism to starve the local governments of funds. So at the end of the day, governance to a large extent had collapsed at the grassroots level, where local governments could not perform their functions, they could not provide the municipal services they were expected to perform. Again, based on stakeholder engagement, based on the political economy, we were able to mobilize organized labor, we were able to mobilize the State House of Assembly and the National Assembly to amend the Constitution to remove those encumbrances so that funding can go directly to the local government and enhance service delivery. While that was still ongoing, despite all the resistance, we also engaged with the federal government, who instituted a case in the court, in the Supreme Court. And last year, June, the Supreme Court gave judgment directing funds meant for local government to be paid directly to local. That's another huge transformational change. At this point, we are working towards enhancing the implementation of that judgment, and once it is, it will improve governance at the grassroots level because funding is critical. But these are some of the key transformations. It was celebrated all over the country as transformational changes that would outlive the program. These are not easy feats. These were issues that other development partners were not willing to touch. But PCP, PERL as a program, took the bull by the horn and advocated for those issues. But the beautiful part of it, at the end of the program, nobody could even remember that, attribute it to the program, that citizens who championed, because we walked behind the scene. We were not ready to share, we were not ready to compete for the limelight. Our objective was pushing them, providing the logistics and the technical support, and allowing them to take ownership of it. And once they saw the importance and the incentive behind that, they owned it, ran with it, while we provided them with the technical support, the advocacy skills, the linking them with relevant other stakeholders, building that broad coalition that led to that change. And the last one I want to talk about is facilitating processes that government and citizens, building trust, building that effective partnership between government and citizens in across their states, where they now work together as partners, co-creating projects, co-creating policies, and one of them is the budget. In Kaduna, for instance, we have a bottom-up approach towards budgeting, where we start from the citizens' charter of demand, where citizens will articulate their priorities and channel them through the local government system, channel them through the State House of Assembly to government. And by the time the program ended, in Kaduna, in Jigawa, about 60% of the projects in the budget are based on citizens' demand. This was a complete departure from the past, where government sit down and determine projects, and citizens that does not meet the priorities of the citizens at the community level. So that created that kind of gap between the citizens and government. Is planning to do so much, but the citizens are not seeing it because what they are bringing is not their part. Based on the intervention of the program, based on the facilitated partnership, it has become a culture in Kaduna, in Jigawa, in Kano now, where in every budget cycle, start from the citizens engaging in that medium-term expenditure framework process, starting from articulating the issues, and it makes implementation more, citizens focused, and it also increases citizens' voice and influence in the governance process. And because it is homegrown, it's locally led, and it's an adaptive process, even while the program has left, it has become a culture, it has become a norm, and this has continued to sustain itself. And the lessons they have learned from this, they are now using in pushing for other policy reforms, which I believe is sustainable. And that is what makes thinking and working politically a good approach.